Sometimes we think that when God doesn't respond right away, it means he's rejecting us. We start questioning everything. Did I pray wrong? Did I sin too much? Is God angry with me? And the enemy uses that silence as an open door to whisper lies, telling you that you're forgotten, abandoned, or unworthy. But I need you to hear this. Delay is not denial. God is not ignoring you. He's setting something up that your current eyes can't comprehend. When God delays, it's because he's got a divine strategy in motion. If he gave it to you too soon, it might crush you. If he answered too early, you might not be ready to steward what comes with the blessing. God doesn't just want to bless you, he wants to keep you in the blessing. And for that, he has to build you first. It's like planting a seed. You don't see what's happening beneath the soil, but something is stirring. Roots are growing. A foundation is forming. And just because there's no visible fruit doesn't mean there's no real progress. Some of the greatest breakthroughs are born in the dark. Think about how many times in Scripture God was silent, not because he wasn't working, but because he was moving in ways people couldn't see. Look at Joseph. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and left in prison for years. But God wasn't denying Joseph. He was preparing him for a palace. Delay wasn't a punishment. It was placement. Strategic, intentional, holy place. And at the right time, God's time, everything shifted. The same is true for you. Some of you are in a season where everything feels slow. The doors aren't opening, the prayers aren't answered, and the silence feels louder than any storm. But what if the silence is your soil? What if the slow is sacred? What if the delay is where God is hiding you so he can shape you without distraction? When we try to rush what God is doing, we end up with counterfeit versions of his plan. We settle for almost instead of appointed. But God is not moved by pressure. He is moved by purpose. When you truly understand that God's delay is a divine strategy, you stop panicking in the pause. You begin to trust that if he hasn't said yes yet, it's because the yes isn't ready, or you're not ready. And both are mercy, both are protection, both are grace. What you see as waiting, God sees as weaving. He's weaving your purpose, your protection, your provision all at once. And if he's taking his time, it's because it's worth it. Don't misinterpret his silence. Don't confuse the pause with punishment. God isn't just preparing the promise, he's preparing you. And that preparation is proof that he hasn't denied you, he's developing you. He's cultivating endurance, maturity, and a strength that will not be shaken when the blessing finally comes. So the next time you find yourself wondering why the answer hasn't arrived, why the breakthrough hasn't broken through, remind yourself, delay is not rejection. Delay is not abandonment. Delay is not denial. It is God's strategic setup for something greater than you can see, but exactly what you've been praying for. He's still moving. You just haven't seen it yet. You know, it's one thing to say that God's delay isn't his denial, but it's another thing entirely to live through that delay and keep your faith intact. It's in those seasons of silence, those long stretches of unanswered prayers, that your faith gets tested the most, because it's easy to trust God when everything is moving, when prayers are getting answered and doors are opening. But when nothing's shifting, when the days feel heavy and your heart starts to question if it's ever going to happen for you, that's when you find out what your faith is really made of. And that's the place where endurance is born. It's in the waiting room of life, where God teaches you how to hold on even when your hands are tired. He's not ignoring you, he's strengthening you. Every moment you choose to believe, even when you don't see anything changing, is a moment you're growing deeper roots. See, shallow faith doesn't last. Shallow faith withers in delay. But God is growing something deep in you, something unshakable, something that's going to carry you not just to the blessing, but through the weight of it. A lot of people want the platform, but they don't want the process. They want the breakthrough, but they don't want the burden that often comes with it. But God loves you too much to bless you with something you're not ready to carry. That's why he lets you sit in the delay sometimes, not to torment you, but to train you. He's building spiritual muscle in you. He's teaching you how to trust his character, even when you can't trace his hand. That's real faith. That's maturity. That's the kind of faith that hell can't shake. I think sometimes we confuse delay with punishment because we've been conditioned to think that God only speaks when he's pleased. But God's silence isn't always a result of our sin. Sometimes he's quiet because he's trusting us to use what he already told us. He gave you a word. He spoke a promise. He confirmed your calling. And now he's watching to see, will you cling to it even when it looks like nothing is lining up? Will you still walk by faith and not by sight? This is where a lot of people give up. They start strong, but when the answers don't come fast enough, they lay their faith down. But faith is a fight. You're going to have to choose to believe even when everything in your situation tells you not to. And that's where endurance is formed. That's where you become the kind of believer who doesn't bend every time life gets hard. That's where your spirit starts to reflect the strength of God, not just the sweetness of his blessings. Because the truth is, God is more interested in making you holy than making you comfortable. He's more concerned about your growth than your convenience. So if he's allowing you to walk through a season where you don't feel him as strongly, where his voice feels distant and the weight feels endless, it's not because he's absent, it's because he's producing something eternal in you. Something that won't break under pressure, something that will carry his glory when the spotlight finally comes. But don't waste your delay. Let it do the work it was sent to do. Let it refine your faith. Let it stretch your trust. Let it develop the kind of endurance that can only be forged in silence, because when the promise finally shows up, you won't just be ready for it, you'll be rooted in it. Keep believing. Even now, even here, sometimes the hardest part of the journey isn't the pain. It's the not knowing. It's waking up every day with no sign, no answer, and still trying to believe that God is working behind the scenes. And let's be honest, that can feel exhausting. It can feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling. Like maybe God forgot about you. But what if I told you that silence doesn't mean absence? What if the quiet isn't neglect? It's preparation. See, God isn't just in the breakthrough, he's also in the building. And most of what God does in your life, he does in the hidden places. The roots grow before the fruit shows. The foundation is laid long before the house is seen. That's why some of you feel invisible right now. You're doing the work, you're showing up, you're trying to be faithful, but nobody sees you. No one is clapping. No one is affirming you. And it's tempting to think that you're wasting your time. But the truth is, heaven is watching. God sees every moment you keep walking when it would be easier to quit. Every time you choose to forgive instead of holding on to bitterness. Every time you choose purity, even when compromise is easier. Every time you pray, even when you don't hear anything back. He's watching you not for perfection, but for consistency. Because it's consistency in the quiet that qualifies you for visibility in the appointed time. And if God is hiding you, it's because he's protecting what he's perfecting. You don't throw a baby out into the cold right after it's born. You cover it, you shield it, you nurture it. That's how God handles your calling. That's how he handles your destiny. He places it in the secret place so it can grow without being attacked prematurely. So while you may feel buried, you're actually being planted. Don't confuse the two. This season of being hidden, of being in the shadows, it's not punishment. It's development. It's God shaping your character to match the weight of your calling. Because the platform can crush you if your integrity isn't ready for it, if your heart isn't healed, if your faith isn't firm. So God, in his mercy, says, I love you too much to expose you before you're ready. He says, let me work on you in secret, so when I reveal you, you'll be strong enough to stand. We live in a world that's obsessed with being seen, but God is calling us to be more concerned about being prepared, and there's a difference. Being seen doesn't mean you're ready. Being celebrated doesn't mean you're strong. The applause of people might feel good for a moment, but it can't sustain you when the pressure comes. Only God can prepare you for that kind of weight. And that kind of preparation often happens in silence, in solitude. So don't despise this season. Don't rush through it. Don't try to force a spotlight that God hasn't turned on yet. Stay faithful. Stay hidden if that's where he has you. Let him do the deep work. Let him build the kind of foundation that won't crack under pressure. Because when God reveals you, when he says it's your time, no one will be able to deny that you were built by him. The silence isn't rejection, it's construction. Sometimes we look at silence and delay as signs that maybe we've missed it. Maybe we didn't hear God right. Maybe we were wrong to dream that big, to believe that deep. But let me tell you something. It's not just about being right or wrong. It's about being ready. And sometimes the silence isn't about whether God is going to do it. It's about whether we're becoming the kind of people who can handle it when he does. See, everybody wants the promise, but not everybody wants the process. And we have to be honest about that. We want the blessing, the influence, the platform, the family, the financial breakthrough. But when it takes longer than we expected, when it doesn't come wrapped in the packaging we imagined, we start getting frustrated. We start comparing. We start looking at everybody else's timeline, wondering why ours seems stuck on pause. But God doesn't work on a schedule that you can control. He doesn't move according to your calendar. He moves according to your capacity. So when God delays something, it's not because he's denying you. It's because he's developing you. He's stretching you. He's stripping away the pride. He's strengthening your patience, because when the blessing finally comes, he doesn't want it to break you. He wants it to build you. And in order for that to happen, your character has to be as deep as your calling is high. You ever seen someone get something too early? Like they got the spotlight before they had the substance? They got the attention before they had the maturity, and what looked like a blessing ended up exposing them. That's why God waits. That's why he hides. That's why he makes you sit in rooms where nobody sees you, serve in places where no one claps for you, pray prayers that nobody hears but him. Because what he's building in you is sacred. It's not supposed to be rushed. And the truth is, what God is preparing for you is bigger than you think. You've been asking for something small, and he's trying to prepare you for something massive. But if he gave it to you now, you'd shrink back in fear. You'd sabotage it with insecurity. You'd start trying to earn what he already gave you by grace. So instead, he delays, not to hurt you, but to hold you in place long enough for your identity to be rooted in him, not in the thing you're waiting for. It's not just about getting the promise, it's about keeping it. Because if you don't have peace, if you don't have identity, if you don't have spiritual maturity, even a good thing can turn into a burden. And God is too good to hand you something that would crush you. So instead, he lets you sit. He lets you wrestle. He lets you feel the tension of not yet, because it's in the not yet that your faith is proven. It's in the waiting that your worship is purified. It's in the silence that your soul learns to listen. So don't waste this season. Don't check out just because the door hasn't opened yet. Don't numb yourself just because the promise hasn't arrived. God hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned the blueprint. He's refining it. He's making sure that when you walk through that door, you won't walk through it empty. You'll walk through it equipped, anchored, and fully aware that it was never about the spotlight, it was always about Him. God's delay is never His denial. It's His love, holding you back so that when He finally says, now, you'll be ready to run without fear.